We are now beginning chapter 4. Wow, halfway through the course. I can tell you're excited because you are going to need graph paper. Now, I'm going to try and provide a link to some graph paper, but you can get some free downloaded graph paper by just Googling it, but I will provide you something that you can use. Now, in this case, we are going to be graphing in two variables. And I regret that that's why we don't allow you to use calculators when you take the test, because you should be manually able to understand how to graph. And we are going to be talking about graphing in two variables. Everything up to this point has been one letter. Well, moving forward, we're now going to introduce two, and toward the end, three letters. And we are going to have to work with it. Now, we're also going to decide how an ordered pair is a solution. Now, this is also another process that we call the check. Some people like to do it, some people don't. If you wish to use it, it helps, but you get a chance to see how it works. We're then going to complete some ordered pairs for a given equation, and we're going to plot those points, which means you need graph paper. And you're going to need to become familiar with the ALEKS graphing tool. And I'll see if I can make a separate video for that, but I can't guarantee you because I don't have the student end of it, but I'll see what I can do. Also, we're going into more story problems, just what you like. So let's begin. Okay, we are going to talk about a linear equation. Now, this equation, ax plus by equals c, is known as the standard form of a linear equation. And the key is the a and the b cannot both be zero. But there is a possibility that a or b could be zero. And we're going to talk about that when we go further into the course. But x and y are now the two variables we're going to be working with. Now, here are some examples of linear equations. Now, I want you to notice the two over here. Okay. Now, remember we said that either A or B could become zero? Well, that's where in these two equations, you have to recognize that mathematicians don't like to write zeros. But we have to remember that there is a zero term present, such as for the x equals -3, this is really the equation x plus 0y equals -3. This b term is 0. That term, 0y, is understood in the world of mathematics. Now, if we take a look at y equals 5, this is 0x plus y is equal to 5, which means our a term can be 0. So these terms of 0x or 0y need to be understood that they are present in the equation. That is most important, okay? Because these concepts of the zeros, even though we don't write them, we will need to use them. Okay? Now, with that said, let's continue. Okay, determine whether the ordered pair is a given solution. Now, as I told you, this is said to be the check. Now, some people like it, some people don't. And as we go into chapter 5, you may find that checking is a real good idea, especially when we're dealing with story problems. So a solution in two variables, and this is the other catch, it's written as an ordered pair. So when you put it into Alex, you've got to make sure you have parentheses and you'll have a term in front, which will be the x that we solve for, comma, y. And we need to make sure that if we put those answers we get for x and y back into the original equation for two variables, we get a true statement. Now, let's look at a couple of examples. Okay, this is saying determine whether each ordered pair is a solution. Okay, that means this x is the first letter in my ordered pair in the part of A. And the y is the second number. So that means, how do I determine it's a solution? Well, some people like to do this in their head, which is fine, but I like to write it out. Now, the key is, does this side, when I put it together and combine terms, equal -2? Well, as we're going to find out, this is 6 minus 8, or sure enough, -2 is equal to -2. And you might notice if you have your textbook, they put a little check after it. Okay, that indicates that this is a true statement, and it is a solution. Okay, now we're going to take a look at B. Well, again, remember, this one is my x term. This 5/4 is my y term. So when I put it in, it's 3 times 1 plus 4 times 5/2. Does this equal -2? Well, again, does this pink part equal -2? Well, we've got to combine terms. Oop, thank you. This is a 4. See, I noticed my mistake real quick, so that helps me. Okay, this is going to give me 3 plus, well, these are going to cancel. This is going to give me a +5. Does 8 equal -2? No. This is not a solution. Not a solution. But this one is a solution. So be aware that you can have something that is a solution. And that's why when we get, let's say we got the answer 1 for x and 5/4 for y, and we checked it. Well, that means we did something wrong, and that's the nice part about checking. But the checking is going to be up to you. Sometimes I will check it, sometimes I won't. Now, this is the same question, but it's kind of in reverse. This is asking you to complete the ordered pair. Now, you have to remember that this first value is my x value. The second one, where the box is, this is my y value. And it says complete the ordered pair. Well, that means that I'm going to write y equals 4 times 1 minus 5. Now, as I said, some people can do this in their head. That's great. I can do it in my head, but I'm letting you know that I'm writing it down for those who need to see what I'm doing. And this will become a positive 4 minus 5, which gives me a negative 1 for y. Now notice it says complete the ordered pair. I'm going to put 1, and then I'm going to put negative 1, and this should be my answer. So we had 2 ways to check to see if an ordered pair is a solution. Now, let's go a little bit further. You're going to start to graph. And I'm going to let you know that we always teach you at the beginning of this chapter the long way to graph. When you get to the exam, you have many tools to graph. But I need to show you all of the tools on how to graph so that in case one doesn't work for you, you can use the other tool. Well, the first tool we're going to talk about is called the T-chart. Now, this is what it looks like. We have the X in the first column, because if you think about alphabet, X comes before Y, and Y is my second one. Now, you're going to notice that I have 4 entries in this table. Now, sometimes you may not need all 4. Technically, if you are aware of wonderful geometry, okay, there's a concept that says 2 points make a line. But a third point confirms the line. So therefore, technically you need 3 entries. And you're going to find that I always go for 3 no matter what it is, because I want to make sure I have a straight line. If one of my 3 points does not line up, then I know that point is wrong. But again, 2 points do make a line. Now, you could also, in ALEKS, plot 2 points, draw your line, and check to see whether the third one is on the line, which means you've drawn a correct line. So see, that third point has its value. It has its purpose. The question is, do you want to use it? Now, with that said, this is more of what a T-table looks like. Now, this time they have 4 values, and they are asking you to complete the table, okay, and write the information as ordered pairs. Okay, now This is what I do. I have this X value, and I have 4 of them. So what I do is, now this is just me, I write the equation 4 times. But every time I write the equation, I change the value of X. Because I need 4 answers. And the last couple of chapters, we've been learning how to solve for one variable. Now, also, by writing them 4 times, some of these I can actually do in my head. But again, if I look at 1 plus y equals 6, I know my y has to be 5. If I look at 2 plus y equals 6, I know that my y value must be 4. If I take -1 plus y equals 6, I know that y has got to be a positive 7 because I'm adding to both sides. Okay, just to make sure. See, I'm adding to both sides. That's how I get 7. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. I'm going to add 2, which gives me y is equal to 8. And just to make sure, see, subtract 1 up here, y is 5. Subtract 2, y is 4. Now, as I said, some of you are going to be able to do this in your head. That's okay if you can do in your head. You just got to come up with the values. Now, ordered pair matters. That means that this is going to be parentheses 1-5, parentheses 2-4, and I got a comma here, -1, comma 7, -2, positive 8. If you can do it in your head, I don't have a problem with that. But if you don't, or you need a little help, writing it out doesn't faze me. I've done it too. Well, let's take a look at the next one. Okay. This is where the fun comes in. Now, you have to know that this equation is really 0x plus y equals 9. This term, 0x, is not there. We don't write that term, but it's understood. And the reason it's most understood is right here. Do you see that everything here is an x? Everything in that column is an x, which means I have 0 times 4 plus y is equal to 9. I have 0 times 2 plus y is equal to 9. I have 0 times -1 plus y is equal to 9. I have 0 times 9 plus y is 9. But the beautiful part about it is 0 times anything is 0, which means that 0 times 4 plus y is going to give me 9. 0 times 2 plus y is going to give me 9. 0 times negative 1 plus y is going to give me 9. And 0 times 9 plus y is going to give me 9. All of these have a y value of 9. And the reason is that 0 times every x is 0. Now, my ordered pairs are still going to be 4, 9, 2, 9, negative 1, 9, and this last one will be 9, 9. That's why you need to understand this term is understood. So when you're asked to complete a table, you still have to write your equation in ax plus by equals c. And if there's a term like here, my x was missing, I have to know that that 0x exists. Okay. Well, let's try this one. Okay. Now this one, they're getting a little different because you're going to notice I have 2 x's and I have 2 y values. So that means I'm going to get 2 y values here and 2 x values here, which means when I rewrite this equation, I am going to write it 5 times 3 minus y is equal to 9. Now I'm going to go 5 times 0 minus y is equal to 9. Those are my x's. And then I have my y values. Well, this is 5x minus a minus 4 is equal to 9. And I have 5x minus a minus 19 is equal to 9. Okay, now this is 15 minus y is equal to 9. When I subtract 15, I'm going to get a negative 6 on this side. But remember, my y can't be negative. I have to divide by negative 1. Well, the beautiful part is this is going to give me 0. But remember, there's a 1 here. I'm dividing by negative 1, which is going to give me a negative 9 value. Okay, well, let's try this one. Now, right here, 5x plus 4 is equal to 9. When I subtract 4, I get 5x is equal to 5. And when I divide by 5, I get a 1. And then over here, 5 plus 5x, I can do that here, plus 19 is equal to 9. When I subtract 19, I get 5x. This cancels out, negative 10. And when I divide by 5, I get negative 2. Now, I'd like to show you something. Look at my x's. Do you see that I go 3, 1, 0, -2. I'm going down. But look at my y values. -19, -9, -4, +6. These values go up as these values go down. Something to check at. If one of those values does not follow the direction, then you know you've done something wrong. Because let's say my last value, instead of a -2, -19, I got a +2. That should tell me right away I've done something wrong. Okay, little clues to look at. And don't forget, I still have to write ordered pairs. You know this lovely thing here? Well, this will be 3, 6, 1, -4, 0, -9, -2, -19. Okay? And here's my last one with a table. Now, this one. Okay. Now, this one. Okay. You have to recognize that we have AX plus BY equals C. C has got to be a number, which means this +2 has got to come over here, which means we have X plus 0Y equals -2. This is what you have to think. This term, 0Y, is missing. But the C is got to be a number. Now, sometimes will it be 0? Yeah, it can be. But you want to have AX plus BY on one side to complete the table. Now, this is one that some people kind of wonder about, because this is going to give me -2 plus 0y is equal to -2. Well, what do you notice about this? Well, if I add 2 to both sides, I'm going to get 0y is equal to 0. Do you remember what that means when we did chapter 3? This is many solutions. This y column, this y value, if I multiply it by 0, no matter what the number is, I'm going to get 0. So what happens is, I'm going to say this is 2, 0, -2, -4. This y column gets any number, because if I take 0 times this 2, I'm going to get 0. If I take 0 times 0, I get 0. If I take 0 times -2, I still get 0. This is an indication of many solutions, which means you can pick any number for y. I just picked them so that I could graph them if I had to. Because notice, if I pick numbers like 200, 100, can I graph those on a piece of paper? Normally, no, unless I have a very, 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 very big piece of paper, or I set my scale so I can do it. But normally the graphs that you get are done by ones. So therefore, I keep my numbers small, between positive 10 and negative 10. Sometimes positive 8, negative 8. Keep them small. But again, my ordered pairs, this will give me negative 2, 2, negative 2, 0, negative 2, negative 2, negative 2, negative 4. This is the one you have to recognize, that you can pick any value, because this blue box, if you remember from chapter 3, has an answer of many solutions, or all real numbers. Remember that? We're building on what we've learned, but we have to understand what it means in a new context. Now, with that said, let's move it right along. Okay, now some of you have seen this graph before. This is known as the Cartesian plane, but many of you call it the rectangular coordinate system. Well, in this case, I have the horizontal line is my x values. My x in an ordered pair is my right-left number. I go right or left first. And then my vertical line is my y-axis. It is my up-down number. Okay? Now, you also have to know this very nice point in the middle. This is known as the origin. This is where we always start. It's 0 for x, 0 for y. Okay. That is most important. Origin. Okay. Now, I've had a few students give me another word for it, but it's origin. Okay. Now, there's also a couple of other things you're going to have to know. The quadrants. Okay. Now, this may not seem very important in 481, but 482 and any 1400 course, quadrants become real important. And you have to know that quadrant 1 has a positive x and a positive y. Quadrant 2 has still x and y, except this time my x is negative, my y is positive. My quadrant 3 is x is negative, y is negative. And my quadrant 4, x is positive, y is negative. So if they ask you where it fits in the quadrants, if you remember what I'm highlighting in yellow, you're easily able to pick the quadrant. Okay. Now, just to help some of you practice, I have this point, 5, 1. Okay. What I want to show you is this 5 is my right, left number, and it's from the center. If this is positive, I'm going 5 right. Now, from this point, okay, I'm going to go up or down 1. Well, since 1 is positive, I go up, and this big blue dot is my 5, 1. I go right because 5 is positive, and I go up because 1 is positive. Okay. Right, left, first from 0, from the center where the two axes. And notice this is my x, which is this line, and this line, which is my vertical axis. Okay? So that big blue dot is my final answer. It's 5, 1. Now, they're going to ask you to plot points. Now, I'm going to let you know that sometimes over here they have what we call little magnifying glasses. Use those magnifying glasses because sometimes the graph is real small. It's not as spread out as the squares I have here. Now, 0 from the center. Now, 0, I'm not going to go anywhere. That's my right left number from 0. Well, it's 0, so I'm not going anywhere. My second number is a -3, so I'm going down, and you're going to notice I'm going to put a little a there. Now, my second one is 3, so from the center, I go 3 right, 4 up. This is where B appears. C. Now, from the center, I go 2 left and 4 down because it's negative. Now, I like to consider right, left, up, down. Just me. Because now, D, the first number is a right, left number, which means that I am going to sit right here. This is my 4, 0. E, the first number's positive. That means I'm going right 1, but the second number is negative, down 2. And last but not least, I have a -5. So from the center, I go 5 left, but I go up 1, which means this is my F. First number, this is left, this is up. And I don't know if you remember, but remember we did number lines? Number lines were just a horizontal line. Well, this is now adding to it a second line. And if you get into the 1400s, you're going to have a Z line, third line, 3 dimensions. Talk to me when you get that far. I always had fun with that. Used to drive me crazy, but I could get it. Just took me a little bit. Okay. Now, this one. Okay. Now, this is going to put everything we've done together. We are going to create a table of values, and we're going to plot these points. Now, I'm going to let you know that this is one of the longest ways to graph. But remember, as I mentioned earlier, we always do the long way first. Okay? Well, right here, this is my X. Okay? So we're going to put -3, -1 plus y is equal to 1. This is going to give me a +3 plus y is 1. If I subtract 3, I get a -2, which means this is -2. My ordered pair is -1, -2. Okay, I'm going to graph it. This is left, this is down. Left, down. Okay? Now, this is 0, which means if this is 0, y is 1. Which is 0, 1. Now, this is where it gets a little interesting. This is my y value. Well, this gives me -3x plus 7 is equal to 1. Well, if I subtract 7, I get a -3x is equal to -6. Divide by -3, which means my x is a +2. Now, I'm going to be honest. This third point may not fit on our graph. But if it did, it would be the point 2 right, 7 way up there. Okay? Now, notice what happens. If I drew my line tool, do you see that all 3 points lie on the line? If one of those points did not lie on the line, let's just say my green one was, or my red point was way over here. I'm going to move it just for a second. If I had a point way out here, a fourth point, I know that this point is wrong because it doesn't sit on my green line. And that's the catch. It's got to sit on my green line. And this is where your line tool comes in. Now, you might have to practice with it a little bit, but you want to make sure before you leave the question that your line goes through all of the points in your table. Or if I graph these two, just these two, and I drew my line, I'm going to have to see that red point or confirm that red point sits right there. That's what I'm going to have to do. So be aware that that is going to happen. Okay, now this is where we're going to talk about story problem time. Oh, I can tell you are so thrilled. Okay. Now, this is going to use some of my graphing information. Now, you're also going to need to be very careful about what we have here. Okay, this is my story problem. Okay, it says the length of an 18-year-old female's hair is measured to be 250 millimeters, which is about 10 inches. Okay, now the length of her hair after X days, so that means this X represents days. Okay, plus 250 millimeters. Now, this is where we're going to be finding the length. The length is going to be my y values. The length is y, which means my ordered pair is days, comma, length. They're telling me what x is. X days. And if you look at A, look at what's here. All of them are days. Okay? Well, that means we're going to write this equation, and I'm going to be solving for y. This is 0.30 times 20 plus 250. Okay. Now, remember, you're doing this problem at home. Well, I don't care if you use a calculator at home, because some of these numbers, I regret, are going to be big. But you are going to find that when we put 0.30 times 20, that's going to give me 6, okay, plus 250 means my y is 256. Okay, now notice my y is 256. My ordered pair is going to be 20, comma, 256. Well, if we do 30, this is going to give me y is equal to 0.30 times 30. And I'm going to tell you this is 9 plus 250 is going to give me 259. This is 30, 259. Now, if you think about it, we have a 10-day difference between 20 days and 30 days. Doesn't hair grow? Which is why 259 makes sense. We grew 3 millimeters in 10 days. That's fine. That's expected. Okay, we are, as time goes, hopefully hair is going to grow. Well, my last one is going to give me y is equal to 0.30 times 70. Now, this is going to give me 21. Okay, 70 days. 21 plus 250 is going to give me 271. Huh? My ordered pair is 70, 271. Okay. These are all of my ordered pairs. And notice, write the results as ordered pairs. Well, here's my result. Now, why do I need those ordered pairs? Guess what comes next? Okay, now, there's a couple of things about this graph. I want you to know that at this point right here, this represents 0, 0, and this is known as a quadrant 1 graph, because I don't draw the big ones that we've been using. The reason is everything, all of the numbers we've done have been positive. Now, a couple of things you need to know. This is my x line. Now remember, x was days. Now, this is going to be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Now notice this little dot line in the middle means 20. The reason I didn't write 20 is my pen is kind of big and I can't write it small enough. So I basically skipped. But if you remembered the ordered pairs we just did, we had 20, 256. We had 30. We had 259. And then we had 70. Okay, and that was 271. Well, notice on my X line, I go past 70. That should be SS. Okay. This X line has got to go past 70. So therefore, if I had done those numbers on the x-axis as 1, 2, 3, 4, I'd be way out. Where do I start with 10? But then you have to think, I got to go to 70. So I have set up these increments evenly in tens. But notice our first number here is 256. Well, I'm going to take and realize that I have a whole bunch of space. Because see, if I wrote 10 here, my 256 would be way off the graph. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put what we call a zigzag. That means I'm chopping off everything until I get to 250. Until I get to 250. So that means that's where I'm starting, is 250, and 250 will be at this line. Okay. Now notice I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more little increments on my graph. Well, remember, I got to go past 270. I've got to go past 270. Okay. Well, let's just say that I'm going to call this 253, 255, or 256. This is going to be 259. This one, okay, I'm going to put 259 here because I'm running out of space. Okay. And then, okay, that's this one, that's this one, that's this one. I'm going to end up having to skip some because my writing is too big. So I'm going to call that 256. That means up here, let's see, add 6 to this is going to give me 262 right here. This will give me 268 up here. And this will give me 274. I went up by 3. This was 253. This is 259, 265, 271. Okay, so this is my 271 mark. Okay. Increments must be the same. They cannot be different. When graphing, spacing must be equal and go beyond the largest values, which is why I went to 90 and why I went to 274. Now, graphing is something you're going to have to get used to, and graphing on my computer screen is not the greatest, but it gives you an idea because now I want to graph these points. Okay. My first point is 20. Well, that means I'm going to 20 here, and I'm going up to 256, which is right about here. Then I have 30. Now I'm going to 259, which is going to be right about here. Straight up 259. And notice I'm putting these little boxes so that you know. Now 70, I'm going to go all the way up to 271. Okay. Now, if I connect these, okay, would I have a straight line? The answer is yes. Okay. But what they're going to ask you to do is to just plot the points. Graph the ordered pair, not connect them so you can eyeball them to see. Now, here's the fun part. Remember, our equation was y equals 0.30x plus 250. That was our equation. Well, now, here's the fun part. How long would it take her hair to reach a length of 262 millimeters? Well, remember, this is our equation. How long means I want to find x. This was days. Days is time. How long is time? Which means my 262 is going to be here. If I subtract 250 from both sides, I get 12 is equal to 0.30x. Okay. Well, when I divide by 0.30, do you realize that x is going to be 40 days? Look at my graph. I'm going to go back a slide. If I have 40 days, that's right in here. Do you see that it would fit very nicely right here? That also allows me to confirm, because if I got 80 days, well, 80 days would be way out here. 262 is way over here. It's got to be somewhere between my blue dots. So therefore, when I do the last part, it's a fourth point that should fit very nicely if I drew a ruler and connected the green and the blue to give me a nice line. Now, this concludes 4.1. Oh, I can tell you're so excited. Okay. So therefore, I'm going to sign off and say, hey, I'm finished. Yay! So enjoy 4.1. Bye-bye.